Today on Growing Idaho, how long is it taking Idaho's lower wage earners to save up for a down payment on a home? Way too long. Now first, here's a map from badcredit.org. Shows how long it takes for the person making each state's minimum wage to afford the average down payment on a house of 8%. The longer times are in a darker green. Hard to ignore that Idaho is a very dark green. That's because it would take an Idahoan making minimum wage here 29.7 years to save enough for a down payment on a house. That is the third longest in the nation. So if they started saving 10% at 18 years old, they'd be nearly 48 before they could afford a home. All this on the average price for a home in Idaho, which was $447,000 about. Now, if you want to put down 20%, that would lower your payment by avoiding mortgage insurance. That would take almost 75 years, so that is not really feasible. Again, Idaho ranks third on this list behind our neighbors to the south, Utah and New Hampshire. Nationally, it would still take more than 23 years for a minimum wage earner to save the average down payment for the average home. But as depressing as all this is, it's actually worse. Kim Dema, a loan officer with Guild Mortgage with decades in the business, says someone making minimum wage wouldn't even get approved for the loan.
The problem is you'd never be able to qualify no matter how much you put down at minimum wage, because we're looking at our minimum wage is what, still $7.25, whatever. So you couldn't save enough to afford that.
So it is literally impossible to buy an average home around here making minimum wage. The good news, though, is that most folks are making well above minimum wage in Idaho. In fact, the State Department of Labor says the median wage is $21.27, so almost 3 times minimum wage. That's really going to help. Also, there are some very helpful down payment assistance programs out there. So with good credit, Dema says first-time home buyers could buy a house with as little as 0.5% of their own money down. Now, a smaller down payment means a bigger monthly payment that you would then have to qualify for. But still, Dema thinks a lot more folks should just have a conversation with a lender to see exactly what they can afford and what they would need to save.
Just talk to a lender, start working on some options, and do it now. Don't wait until the market crashes. Don't wait until there's much better rates. Don't wait until you get this perfect little world that you think is coming. Get in there now, because it's not going to I don't think it's going to get any better. I really don't.
Yep, that bubble burst or market crash I've heard people talk about and hope for is not coming anytime soon. Inventory is still just too low. Also, mortgage rates are ticking down, ticking up, but as those rates drop, prices can spike, which isn't going to help affordability anyway. We're going to talk more about the market next week. And the one mistake that Dema says people make in their personal finances that hamstrings their ability to buy a house. More Wake Up Idaho after this.